So that time has finally come. My channel is about to enter a very long hiatus, so I thought I'd crank out one last video beforehand. That, and I'm approaching 100 subs for some reason, and since this is an opinionated list, I know I'm going to lose some today. So what? I know this video is pretty bad, but do not worry, I plan to redo this with better software, with a better computer, and with footage. But for now, this is what you get. I wish I had more time, but it just snuck up on me. Anyway, here is my top 18 Pokemon types. In this list, I will discuss my least favorite and favorite Pokemon of each type. I will avoid starters and legendaries if possible, but that's not going to be possible. So, I will make some of you mad in some of these entries. So, are you ready? Alright, let's go. Number 18. I was open to the idea of a new type being added into the games, even as far in as Gen 6 was to the franchise. The fact that fairies are brand new to the series is part of the reason they are so low on this list. Though, I am glad that fairies gave fighting and dragon types some much needed nerfing, and poison and steel types some much needed boosts, I can't help but think its execution otherwise is kinda botched. Does it strike anyone else odd that a cupcake thing like Slurpuff can kill an MMA fighter and a freaking dragon? But, yeah, okay. What else fairies did leaves a bitter taste in my mouth, and I will get to that later. It's not gonna be a pretty thing at all. Okay, Game Freak, what is this thing? An ugly perfume bottle? That can slay dragons. Alright then. Tell me why Spritzy didn't turn into a flamingo like I and many others had hoped? Slurpuff may have been a ludicrous design, but in a way it's kinda cute. But this is just gross looking, and its ability in battle is okay at best. But why can a perfume bottle kill a dragon? If you can get an Azumarill with huge power, you are set to wreck many faces at once. Azumarill was already strong with that ability to begin with, but now it can kill dragons. And rightfully so with that kind of power. When I got one of these in my X-Winterlock, I knew that I was going to kill lots, and it did. Too bad it eventually died to an Outer Nova Grass type move, but what can you do? X and Y has been really unpredictable with that anyway. Number 17. I've had interesting encounters with the poison type, and they aren't necessarily good. Poison is low on this list because of terrible experience I've had with it. Fire Red and Leaf Green were among my first Pokemon games, and am I the only one who has noticed just how many poison types there are in the Generation 1 roster? In those games, it's status condition this, and status condition that. It's made my playthroughs an absolute nightmare at points. Worst of all, when I try to use poison, it very rarely works out in my favor, since things like status conditions rely on luck sometimes, and since I have consistently bad luck all the time, it's never any good. And speaking of bad luck, look! It's a bomb! It would be a shame if that were to go off. And it does. A lot. So much so that it's just downright depressing in Nuzlockes. And guess where these things show up the most? In Fire Red and Leaf Green's Team Rocket. If you are brave enough to do a lock of those games, I salute you, because these things are a nightmare. And my favorite of the poison types is Crobat. And despite the fact that Crobat has let me down on numerous occasions, especially in Nuzlockes, I cannot describe how awesome it can be when it doesn't let you down. The fastest poison type, and the only poison-flying combination, this Pokemon clearly justifies the ever-annoying presence of Zubat. Now, if only I can stop getting lackluster ones so I can really like this thing a lot more, because it's getting annoying and I keep getting bad ones. Number 16. Why did it take until Gen 5 for bug types to become good? Seriously, first 4 gens, bug types all boiled down to derps you get early in the game, or semi-decent Pokemon with way too many weaknesses. There were a few good bug types before Generation 5, like Pinsir, Heracross, and Scizor, but most of them were very bad. This is why bug types and I do not get all along very well. And that, even with Gen 5's help, they are still statistically the weakest Pokemon. That just ain't right for a Pokemon with so much potential. Ugh. So this thing, just get it away. I do not wish to discuss how garbage this Pokemon is. I think its stats, its evolutions, and its overall gimmickiness speaks for itself. Generation 5, thanks so much for including this absolute monster. A bug and fire type, a moth-turned solar deity, it's pure genius. It was between this and Heracross for my favorite bug type, but I honestly think that Volcarona is just better. It's ludicrously strong, yet has access to Quiver Dance. Without the right Pokemon, this thing can turn into an absolute monster of destruction, and I love it. Number 15. Simply put, rock types are just way too unpredictable for me to use properly. Using one is just not easy to me. They are weak to so many types, and are generally slow, so it's all too likely they'll sustain heavy hits before they can even move. However, it is made up for in spades with their coverage. Many commonly used Pokemon are weak to rock, and nearly every stronger trainer is packing at least one rock-type move or another. And against the right Pokemon, they can really rock. Okay, on to my least favorite. Okay, screw Zubat. It's Geodude that always pesters me and refuses to leave me alone, especially in Gen 4. It's terrible how people shame Zubat when this thing does the exact same thing. So much so that there was just no contest for my least favorite rock type. Well, to be honest, I don't like that many rock type Pokemon. Yeah, sure there's Pokemon like Tyranitar or Aggron, a few others, but they are just so slow and have way too many weaknesses. So, Archeops. Yeah, I know it has the worst ability ever, but it's fast and it's hard when that ability is not active. And I think it's just better than Aerodactyl design-wise, even though Aerodactyl technically is better, but it's my preference, so take that anyway. Number 14. If I had used ghost types more often by now, they'd be quite a bit higher on this list, but my biggest gripe with them is just how rare they are. When it comes to ghost types, you just don't have very much option. This is why they are only 14 on this list. Ghost types are very good though when you get one. 2 immunities, including the once OP fighting type, and with just 2 weaknesses, rest assured, they'll stick around to haunt your enemy. There's no ghost type I dislike. Yamask because it's too depressing. Chandelure. Just Chandelure. Do I have to elaborate on this ultra-powerful thing? Come on! Base 90 in both defenses, and 145 in a special attack? That's almost OP! If it weren't for the large number of weaknesses, 80% of which can be covered, by the way, it would be OP. Seriously, this thing is just too awesome. Number 13. Speaking of OP fighting types, there they are! And they are this low on this list based on design alone. As a furry, most humanoid designs are just meh to me, but some are really stupid. I mean, come on! Hitmonchan is a man thing in a skirt. Now, I am all for freedom of expression, but am I really the only one who thinks it's hideous this way? But enough of that. Fighting types really are too good. Thanks, fairies, for the nerf, but because prior to Gen 6, 5 advantages and just 2 weaknesses? Damn! Screw dragons being OP. OP is right here. Like I said, inevitable. Emboar is a joke. A total travesty of a Pokemon. People who say this Pokemon is good are totally lying. How does my superior KO one of these then, huh? If they're so good, How come the Emboar on my Firestarter team sucks balls? And most importantly, why does it even exist? Its design was bad enough, but then it's firefighting too? Again? Are you kidding me? Heracross. Speaking of buggy gems from pre-Gen 5, Heracross came very close to becoming my favorite bug, so it's my favorite fighter instead. So I got a shiny Eevee one day, and literally 20 minutes later I got a shiny one of these. Sentimental value there, and what else can I say besides the thing is a strong beast? Nothing. Moving on then. Number 12. The wild card of the franchise, the ever-versatile and most common Pokemon type, the concept of normality. Because of the wide variety of normal types in the game, and their huge move pools, anything is possible with this type, good and bad. And it helps to have just one weakness and an immunity despite having 0 advantages. A bitch in the anime, a bitch in the Smash Brothers games, a bitch, period. Jigglypuff, and oh god, the names of the Pokemon in this evolution line, did a retard think of them. Look, I know it's trying to appeal to girls to get them into the franchise of Gen 1's time, but fuck this thing. Let Clefairy do it. Only closeness I can get to even respecting this thing was Wigglytuff in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 2. That guy was hilarious. You know, I want to avoid being a cop-out. Eevee is actually my favorite normal type, but competitively, it's Porygon 2. Eevee train more in defense, give it an Eviolite, and give it Charge Beam and Recover, and prepare to destroy and be a total annoyance to your opponent. Really, that's it. It's so simple. This thing can be such a beast so simply. It's amazing. Number 11. Psychic types are hit or miss to me. For the most part, I like Psychic types. I just don't use them very often. Since only 2 types are weak to it, I generally don't see all that much point in using one. Except in Fire Red and Leaf Green. Seriously, it's nothing but poison half the time. But they really are great Pokemon, especially since at one point they were considered incredibly overpowered. However, at this point, that is no longer the case. Fighting types can be just as powerful offensively, but have over twice the coverage. But I like Psychic types more because brain over brawn, and the designs of most fighting types just held them back that much for me. Ew! Get that disgusting thing out of here! So I thought long and hard on what my favorite Psychic type Pokemon was. I ended up drawing a lot of blanks. I've considered Pokemon like Espeon, Meowstic, Xatu, Metagross, but I found that the Psychic type I always came back to was Reuniclus. Yeah, I know it's not a fantastic Pokemon, I know it's a very unconventional choice. I'm not even sure why I like this Pokemon so much. I can't explain it. I just do. So, sue me! Number 10. Talk about OP! Dragon types are the strongest type in the game, sporting many legendaries and pseudo-legendaries. A much needed nerfing came in the form of fairies, but they are still way too strong, especially after that dope Mega Rayquaza coming in. What holds the dragon types back is just how rare they are and how hard to train they are. Once you get one, man, is it worth it or what? Screw you to hell and back, you double-taming, resting son of a... Level 64? Game Freak, are you out of your mind? But then again, it's so worth it to get your paws on this thing. Hydreigon can learn moves from all types except for one, Grass. Coupled with its special attack, this thing is just about as predictable as the normal type. Oh, and screw you, fairies! 4 times weakness, ugh! Number 9. So here we are at the top half of the list, and starting it off is the Fire type. To be honest, I think the Fire type is a bit overrated, but not extremely so since it's well deserved, with its great versatility and balance. 3 advantages, 3 weaknesses. I don't know why, but I just love that. I may not be fond of fire or heat in real life, but in the games, burn baby burn. My least favorite Fire type is that overrated piece of garbage, Darmanitan. What? Hating Charizard is becoming mainstream, and besides, he's a key factor in my Sun team. Anyways, Darmanitan. Strong? Yes. Tough? No! Absolutely not. Base 55 defense, okay, it's not that bad, but it's bad. Zen mode is the way to go. Base 105 defenses with 140 in attacking? Now that's better. Well, alright, Darmanitan is good, but it's definitely not the best. I am prejudiced against monkeys after all. And it overshadows Chandelure. Again. I mean, this thing owns way too many faces. Number 8. Now, here's a type I don't get to use very often, but when I do, oh man, it's amazing. Steel is the ultimate in a defensive type. Resisting 10 of the 18 types? That's crazy! And in Gen 6, I love them even more now that they can kill those blasted fairies. Since I like to play defensively sometimes, Steel is usually my go-to type when I do play like that. Pokemon that can take hits and deal them out as well. This is what the rock types are missing. There's little I can say that is bad about it, except I'm not crazy about some of the designs. Shieldon, Phoenix and Y's 3-star restaurant. This thing is a freaking troll! Let's see here. For my favorite steel type, there's Scizor, Excadrill, Aggron. Oh, here we go, it's Magnezone. This is how to make a magnetic Pokemon creative, and it has 12 resistances? 13 if you get magnetized, so that makes it so Magnezone has the most type resistance of any Pokemon? And with a 130 in special attack? Prepare to die, man. Number 7. This is what poison types are missing. Status inflictions that are much more usable. The grass type has the privilege of being the first type I have ever used. I severely underestimate how good grass types can be when it has 5 weaknesses. But then again, if my grass types can kill some fire types, it obviously doesn't completely matter now, doesn't it? These stupid monkeys are just so stupid and pointless gimmicks. I would not be so bothered. But you know what? Again, I'm prejudiced. They're monkeys! Grovyle, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 2. Best character in all of Pokemon, rivaled only by N. Seriously, do I even need to say it? If you don't know what I mean, play Pokemon Mystery Dungeon 2, and you will see why Grovyle is not only my favorite grass type, but one of my favorite Pokemon characters in general. Number 6. My name is Arrow, so you might be wondering, what the heck? Flying is only number 6? If your name is Arrow, shouldn't flying be much higher than this? Well, I guess you can make that argument. But, you know, those who know me personally already know what my top favorites are, so why isn't flying any higher here? While it's true that out of the 4 basic elements, air is my favorite, in Pokemon though, it's mostly represented by birds, and I'm not super crazy about them, so I guess that hurts flying's chances there. But, here's the cool thing about flying, the flying type. Oh yeah, I just said it. It's Fly! Fly is always a great thing to have on your team. Oh, and why is there only one pure flying type? I've never really understood that. Insert Burmy rant here. It's Skarmory. Like I said, I'm a fan of defense every now and then, but what really sells it for me is Skarmory's concept. An armored bird made entirely of steel, knives for wings and everything. It's just incredible. Hey, why not give this thing a Mega? Number 5. Oh, how I wanted to talk about the most underrated type of all time. For a long time, everyone, and I mean everyone, treats the ice type like it's the worst thing in the entire franchise. No. Just no. Not even close. Oh, but it has so many weaknesses. Grass, rock, they both have more. Oh, I mean common weaknesses. And grass and rock both don't. Grass shares a weakness to fire. Rock shares a weakness to fighting and steel. Oh, but it only resists the self. Normal also has only one resistance. It has advantages that are so easily substituted. Dragons before Gen 6, buddy. Good luck. Oh, and half the battles today have at least 3 Pokemon weak to it. You see, people complain about everything they can about the Ice type to make it look bad. It's unjustified. Oh, but it's so rare. Ghosts, dragons, and steel types are too. I mean, seriously. This is why I like the gym leader Wolfric so much. Because of that line before you fight him, there's one where he says that ice can either make him a pushover or the hardest challenge yet. And that's how ice types are! Ice types have rarely to never let me down. So if you hate ice types for one of the reasons or another, realize that another type is worse in that regard. Whoa, God, not that thing again! Go away! Does this count? Because I adore Rotom Frost. This thing is a huge ground-type counter on my mono-electric team. Man doesn't own base whenever it does land its blizzards, because for some reason it really likes to miss them a lot. That really is annoying, but that doesn't deter me from loving this thing. Well, if it doesn't count, then I'll go with Glaceon, because it saved my tail against Cynthia many times, because guess what? Half her team is weak to ice. And since Glaceon can actually take a hit, yeah, take that, Ice-type haters! You know Ice is really good against one of the hardest battles in the entire franchise! Number 4. Okay, I guess I was a little bit too angry and too negative in the last entry, but the discrimination against Ice-type really grinds my gears sometimes. So, here's a type that isn't talked about a whole lot. I find this type underrated as well, but not so much as Ice is. But I like it more, because it's better than Ice. Hey, when I think the hate towards Ice is totally not justified, I can acknowledge that others actually are better. And ground types are better. They're better than better. They're amazing. Like fighting 5 types that are weak against it, including the ever-exclusive weakness to highly electric types. So, that's pretty cool. So you know, my hatred for this Pokemon is based on its pre-evolution alone. Oh, hell yeah, now we're really getting into really good Pokemon. Shame it's got a lot of weaknesses and Fairy's not helping, but nonetheless, it has 6 weaknesses but 7 advantages. When considering its dual typing, yeah, that's pretty good. I just love this thing for how strong it is. It is monstrous sometimes. Number 3. Bronze rank goes to the ever-useful, super common, and very much diverse water type. They're about as common as normal types, but better. Why? There is a dual type for all 17 other types with water now, so that makes water types extremely useful and even unpredictable. And with only 2 weaknesses, several different options, water is easily one of my top favorites. The ruination of my Generation 4 playthroughs, Nuzlocke, and Shiny Hunts is this miserable little slug. Because of this thing's presence, it hampers my relationship with one of my favorite Pokemon ever. Since the 2 show up in the exact same place, I hate this Pokemon. Dare I say, it's my least favorite of all time. I think I'm in love. This Pokemon is easily a contender for my all-time favorite Pokemon. I love it so much, and it's such a shame that this thing's not talked about enough, like, at all. I've never seen this Pokemon on anybody's teams, at all, yet I've swept people with one of these. So what if it has, like, terrible defense? And so what if I like defense? I love this thing way more than all that. I love its design, and it's all like, sup bro, in Gen 5. It's so amazing. It's underrated, powerful, fast. Get yourself one now, please. Number 2. Now you all know what my number 1 is, but to those who know me well enough already knew. So, the electric type, it's my favorite of all of them to use competitively. As I mentioned earlier, I built a mono electric team, and it has swept full teams of legendaries before. And it also has been swept by mundane non-legendaries too, but you know, I still love them so much. Since it has just one weakness, electric is just way too good and way too versatile. It's incredible. I hate baby Pokemon with a passion, and people seem to hate Pikachu ponies too. So which Pokemon started both trends? Pichu! Oh my god, why doesn't this thing get more hate? Oh, because of Pikachu. Oh, well. Jeez, I have just way too many options. Rotom, Electric, Magnezone, even Lantern. But I chose Jolteon because, well, I guess I can be a cop-out sometimes. And because, why not? I bred it perfectly. 6 IVs across the board. And you know what? It shows. As one of my opening team members, Jolteon really knows how to show an opponent the true power of the best evolution. Number 1. To no one's surprise, darkness makes up who I am. I hate to say, but my heart is corrupted, and none can relate to me quite the same way as the dark type does. Harshfully misunderstood like Absol, tricky like Zorua, and overall a nightmare in some ways like Darkrai. If I were a Pokemon, I would definitely be a dark type. There's just no other type that connects to me so much more like the dark type. It's like who I am. The dark type means much more to me than cool designs, battle ability, anything like that. It's kinda mushy when you get right down to it. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not gonna go that route. Okay, now, time to make some enemies. Oh yes, you are saying this totally correctly. I really hate Greninja. Why? Why are people always going gaga over this disappointingly lackluster Pokemon? Because it's a ninja? Sure. Okay. But it's one that is disappointedly frail like glass. I absolutely refuse to believe this thing has base 70 defenses. No, more like base 7. And its attack stats are barely averaging 100? Good, but it's definitely not great. I've one-shot these Pokemon more times than they've knocked my Pokemon down to 2/3 health or lower. Seriously, this Pokemon is completely pathetic in most cases. No Pokemon has disappointed me more than Greninja has. I wanted this thing to be good. To justify its popularity, it had to be good. But it just isn't. Without Protean, this thing is just a wasted space, wasted potential on your team. Protean is broken, but it at least makes this Pokemon usable. And I am still so bitter that this thing got a spot in SSB4. I love foxes to death. Dark type is my favorite type. When I saw Game Freak combine the two, I literally lost it. Holy damn, is this thing awesome. With Illusion, you can really surprise bitch your opponents. And though the Pokemon isn't particularly great thanks to a shell move pool and defenses that are somehow worse than Greninja's, I still can't do it. And fairies, oh yeah, fairies! This is why I hate fairies, for taking down dark types and making them statistically one of the worst types in the game. Thanks a lot, guys. Really, that was so appreciative of you. Like, really. That's great. And that's my list. Do you disagree with it? I knew you would. So go ahead and unsubscribe, dislike, and threaten me in the comment section. I don't give a shit anymore. I'm used to that stuff. But do you agree? Like I said, I will redo this video in the future with better pretty much everything. I just didn't have the time since everything will be gone video making ability wise by pretty much the day this video goes up. We'll see how long it takes for me to get back. So, yeah. If only I had more time. Could do this, like, much better. Could do more takes. Make sure it doesn't sound like garbage. I know it does. But in the end, quality doesn't matter too much. Only the content does. And with that, Arrow the Gold Vulpine, Shiny Hunter's Moon,